So I remember one time I was taught a lesson where the teacher said, I went into my future and I saw. And she talks about how she knew where she was headed and what that looked like exactly, down to the details about the type of desk that she would have and the carpet and the lighting and so on. And I've heard other claims that start out by saying things like envisioning and perception is projection. See it, create a vision board, create a mantra, create a belief, focus. Where your focus goes, your energy flows. And to focus so much on this future, but also be mindful about the present moment that you are actively living in now, and grateful for the things in the future that you saw, but nobody else can see yet. And you have to be grateful for it, even though it hasn't happened yet in our time, but you saw it in the future. And then there's that whole name it and claim it thing, as if it already happened, and seeing it done, and just sit back and let it happen, right? If you've heard those lessons before and you've gotten as frustrated as I am, you are in the right place. Feeling like this was ironic and unyielding, like an infinity loop. And if I had a slide chart right now, I would insert a slide with the infinity sign, like people talking in circles, ironically circling back to another thing that like contradicted exactly what they just said. Like how when you manifest things, the universe only does what's good for you. But if you look at your current life situation right now, it is a manifestation of everything in your heart, like your heart's desires. But what if everything in your life now isn't good? Are you saying that we manifested things that aren't good? No, we're saying you don't know how to manifest things and you don't know how to look at your life as good, which is why you do the thankful thing. But I didn't know all that yet. So I started talking to a few friends as I was working through this, you know, the ones that wouldn't send me straight to the loony bin while I talk in circles around these topics. And they saw that I was sort of a stickler, and I like details and I like things just explained. And as a writer, when I'm writing like my book, I have an idea and I'm trying to write it down or type it out as fast as I can, right? Because my ideas are flowing, like I'm in my zone. But as a soul searcher, I was trying to see something that was already happened. So this is a really hard concept for me, and they suggested that maybe I try a THC oil to help me sort of get out of my own way. And so I saw myself like envisioning teaching this course. And I saw the slides that were going to be in the slideshow, even though I don't actually know how to make slides yet. I just kind of saw them and like the students watching them and having questions and having live Q&A where I could like answer questions as I'm talking, so they can put something up like right now and interrupt it. And instead of this being like a recording, you know how live Q&As work. So I saw all these things happening, and then at the peak of this vision, it was like all of a sudden I was on stage as an inspirational speaker in front of like a stadium-sized auditorium with lights and music and an interactive audience. But when I got to the end of my motivational message, I asked the audience if there's a version of themselves that they've always dreamt about. Like maybe they wanted to be a ballerina or a comedian, neuroscientist, quantum physicist, public speaker, or whatever was inside of them. If they had this feeling like bubbling up inside them, like the tightening in the chest and climbing into your throat, like you're almost holding back tears, you're gonna explode if you don't scream out, I want to be a ballerina. And I told them, I'm like, stand up right now, stand up out of your seat and let it out. And I waited and I looked around the audience, expecting to hear shouts from all around me, but instead all I heard was my breath. And then I felt embarrassment redden my face. As soon as I felt that, though, I went right into a lesson on how the shadow self gets created in all of us. This, I said, this is what happens to us over and over again in our lives. We put ourselves out there. And if we don't feel secure enough about ourselves, fear will start to come and make another story. Instead of me believing in myself being a good inspirational speaker and believing that I have an impactful message that gets through to people, suddenly I might be afraid that I'm not getting through to people. It's not resonating with them. They're not responding. And in that moment of silence, if nobody responds and I lose faith in myself, they're not going to respond. I have to keep the faith in myself, even if the rest of the world is silent, because I believe in this. And I believe even if the first time this happens, it's crickets, I'm going to learn from that. And I am going to keep on trying to share my point. And I think that, so that was like a lesson for myself. So I grabbed my journal and I started writing this down, this vision that I had, right? Because this didn't actually happen in real life. I've never gotten on a stage. I've never been invited to a stadium. This is just something I saw, like future Susie, like I could do this. And then all of a sudden I was like, but what if no one says anything? And it's like, guys, that is your shadow self, or your ego creating a shadow self. Really, it's your ego creating a shadow. But we get into all of that, like ego self, shadow self, inner child, in the lessons that I have. This is just sort of explaining why I have the lessons and why they mean so much to me. And so I had been working on doing all of this research and reprogramming, and so I wasn't really sure if this was progress or I was going crazy. So I started my own way of keeping track of it, and on March 15th I created my own page. I only have 2 questions on it, and then the bottom third is blank because I like to sketch, and it's mostly like stick figures. But anyways, I hope you like my sketches when we get the slides going and you guys can see. I'll like copy and paste the pictures that I made up on here, and we'll have that going too. And we'll have, different videos loaded than this one. But this is kind of an example of where I'm going with this. So, okay, secretly downloading. Okay, so yeah, I made my own format because I was getting mad, secretly getting mad that like everyone else's format just wasn't for me. And I accept that I have control issues and a golden Jigglypuff. And so I made my own 2 questions. Okay, blank space at the bottom and my drawings. Question 1, what did you do today to get to future you? Now, I made this before I saw that future me on the stage, right? So I just made this not knowing what the future me was, or that I would have a duck like quacking at my head, which is a really funny one of these with a duck as the logo later on. He's so funny. He wants to be a part of this so bad. This is me playing with my son as I'm doing work on my business. So we'll see if we keep this video up on the website or not, just to show like the reality of some of the challenges when we're trying to do this stuff. This is real. This is me actually trying to set up my course and my very first recording, and my kiddo's here and he wants to be a part of my video. So this is what's happening. And the duck wants to be a part of the video, definitely.
What about Golden Jigglypuff?
And the Golden Jigglypuff.
What about Jeffrey Bezos?
So many things, you guys. So many things. This boy.
What about Jeffrey Bezos?
Okay. So what can you do today to get to this future version of yourself before you even saw the future version of yourself, trying to figure out what your purpose is going to be, trying to figure out all these things that you are putting together, like all this research that I'm doing? I would work things backwards. Like, okay, So what do you want? I want to go to India. Okay, well, why do you want to go to India? I want to go to India because I heard that they have orphans there that are called the untouchables, and they don't even get hugs, and that makes me sad. Okay, why does that make you sad? Well, that makes me sad because I want to hug the orphans. Okay, why do you want to hug the orphans? Were you not hugged enough as a kid? So now we get into the inner child. And now, so I've done like all of this self-exploration and self-work. I've gone like 7 whys in. Have you guys ever heard that one? It's like they have the 3-6-9 method where you write something 3 times in the morning, 6 times, and then 9 times at night. They also have a 7 why method where you ask yourself why to every answer that you just gave until you get to 7 whys, and then you find like your true why. So I'm trying all these different exercises to get something that everyone else seems to have figured out but me, and it's driving me freaking crazy. So I kind of think of it like a video game, right? So I wish I could put this slide together. I really do, you guys. Imagine you're playing a video game and you just saw your shadow self get created, like on that stage, like something embarrassed you, something took away a little bit about what you want because somebody wasn't super, super excited about it. And it doesn't have to be traumatizing, like getting embarrassed on a stage, that could be super traumatizing for one person and just moderately embarrassing for another. But whatever it is, it still made that impact, right? So now you're in this video game with the cat, and no cats were harmed in the filming of this video. So you're in this video game and there's the shadow self they have to learn about. You have to figure out like almost like how are you going to defeat this part of you, right? So that you can level up in the game. But when you get to the final level, you're not supposed to defeat the shadow self. You're supposed to like team up, right? Like you're supposed to love and accept each other and be like, oh, we're a team now, awesome. So that was like a huge thing, and I really want to draw that out for you guys. But I'm wrapping this up because this is supposed to be a sample, not like a whole thing. So question 2 on the paper is what do you want to do tomorrow or soon, right? So it doesn't necessarily have to be tomorrow, but what action do you want to do? What do you want to put in place? What are you going to do? Because you're not just going to sit there and think about it and envision it and daydream. Because one, you're not going to get it when you're trying that hard to like make a vision come to you. Maybe you will. Go for it. Give it a try. See what works for you, honestly. It didn't work for me. So I had to think about all of these things that I want to do. Like, do I want to grow a flower out of my forehead? Do I want to start a new habit every day? Do I want to start a journal? Do I want to buy a book on a topic that I'm still kind of not getting? Do I want to incorporate new self-care routines, doing something for myself every now and then, take a break? Do I want to live as though I already have it? And that's tough when you're talking about money because the irony, come on, you can see the figure 8, right? Live as though you have money, spend as though you have money, but I don't have any money. But spend as though you do, but I don't have it. But spend as though you do. It's like, oh my goodness. It was like, seriously, I really thought I was going crazy, you guys, with some of these lessons that I would just like was not getting. I just wasn't getting it. So I made this paper, 2 questions, wrote it down. And in the next episode, we're going to get into the first answers that I came up with on March 15th when I made this questionnaire, because there's no way I can keep this going right now. So we're going to have to dive back in later.